The NFL trade deadline has come and gone. The Rams did not make a move. So, what does that mean for the rest of the season? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single day, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. My name is Travis Rogers. Thanks for making us a part of what you do each and every day. Not only do I host this Locked On Rams podcast, but I'm also the host of the Rams pregame, postgame, and halftime show on their flagship station, ESPN 710. So if you are in and around Los Angeles, we get that going around 2 hours before each and every kickoff. For instance, this is a 1:25 kick this weekend against the Bucs. We'll get that going about 11:30. So make sure that you check that out. And then, of course, right after the game, we've got the post-game show with myself and Kirk Morrison as well. So you can hear all your breakdowns of the Rams and the Bucs. And let me remind you again that today's podcast is brought to you by PrizePicks, the podcast by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their PrizePicks projections, you can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com. Promo code Locked On. Don't forget to click that subscribe button in your podcast feed. You can also check us out on Locked On Rams on YouTube as well. So that's a great way to take in the podcast. Here's what I want to talk about. Cam Akers is still here. Cam Akers is still technically a member of the Los Angeles Rams. What do you do with him going forward? That's coming up in just a bit. Plus, the NFC playoff picture, believe it or not, even though we're only headed in to week 9 of the season, this is the halfway point. There's still half the season left. The Rams have 10 games left in the season. The playoff picture is pretty much locked in. 6 of the 7 spots are all but locked up. So that leaves the Rams fighting for that 7th and final spot with some teams that you might be surprised to find in there. We'll get to that before too long as well. But let's talk a little bit about the trade deadline that happened yesterday. The Rams did not make a move. They, for the first time, really in almost the entire Sean McVay era, they did not try to improve the team at the deadline. They did not find a deal that they liked, or they did not find a deal that the potential trade partner liked. They were in on Christian McCaffrey, couldn't get it done. They were in on Brian Burns, could not get it done. By the way, the price of 2 first-round draft picks to Brian Burns, my question would be, A, why did Carolina say no to that? And B, why did the Rams ever offer such a lucrative package in the first place? Because they got a lot of holes to fill, and some draft picks are really the only way that they're going to be able to do that, I think. And then, of course, there were the rumors about Bradley Chubb, and maybe he would be coming to the Rams, adding that defensive presence that they've been missing so far this season, but he ends up in Miami, which I think is a very good place to start. The Miami Dolphins were very active at the trade deadline. They get Chubb is probably the headliner there, but they are doing, I believe, what the Rams have done previously, which is they see an opportunity. They see that they have a chance to go and make a deep playoff run, maybe beyond that, but they know that they're a defensive player away. They know that they need a playmaker on that side of the ball. They know that they need to be better than they are right now. They don't need 6 players or even 4 or maybe even 3. If they get a guy or 2, that could change everything. That was the Rams in previous seasons. That was the Rams last year. Von Miller could be the difference between us going to the Super Bowl or not. Matthew Stafford could be the difference between us going to the Super Bowl or not. And they made big swings. Miller was a second and third. Stafford, of course, was your former number 1 overall pick, Jared Goff, plus more number 1 picks going out the other way. And it hit. And it worked, and it was wonderful, and they won the Super Bowl, and every time I walk into SoFi Stadium and see the banner, it's like, yep, they made it happen, and I know that this season's not going the way that it's supposed to or the way that we were hoping for, but they got a championship, and that's what this is about, so it was worth it. I think that's where Miami is, and I think that's where the Rams aren't. And I think that's why they, again, the Brian Burns reports are really something else, that they decided that they were willing to go 2 first-round picks for him is it's a lot, right? That is, I mean, that's what they gave up, more or less, for Matthew Stafford. I get Burns is a really nice player for sure, but if you just put Burns, like, snap your fingers, he's here. They are they a lot better? I don't think so. Does he run the ball? No. Does he block? No. Does he run patterns and get open? No. I mean, what do you need him for? I mean, I get it. He's going to go get the quarterback. He's going to make Aaron Donald better, et cetera, et cetera. The Rams aren't losing games because they don't have pressure on the quarterback. That's one small reason why, but it's not one of the top 10. Everything that they're struggling with this year is on the offensive side. So just the offer itself was very peculiar to me. I like that it didn't happen. I like that it didn't happen because you need to be really honest in your evaluations of what you are as a football team. And this team, at its peak, we're talking at its very, very best. What is this team? 10 wins? Maybe. That might be overly optimistic, maybe 9. And why make a move to go from 8 wins to 10 wins, or 9 wins to 10 wins, or 7 wins to 9 wins? And that's what you're talking about. This team, as currently constructed right now, the way that they've played through their first 7 games of the season is not good enough to win the Super Bowl. Now, maybe when guys start to come back, maybe when guys get healthier, maybe players like Allen Robinson start to learn the system a little better. Now, you would hope that would have started to happen already, and maybe we're seeing a little bit of signs of it. But when those things start to happen and you get a little healthier up front, then maybe Cam Akers can come back in. Not going to happen. Maybe Darrell Henderson can find a way to get on track. Probably not going to happen. But this is what I'm talking about. You need all of these things to go together to get a little bit better. I think this is one of those years. I think this is one of those years where maybe you get hot at the end. Maybe you have a good month of December. Maybe you get to that 9-win threshold. Maybe you get into the playoffs and cross your fingers and say, hey, look, anything can happen. I got Cooper Kupp. I got Matthew Stafford. I got Aaron Donald. Anything can happen. Okay. But at the risk of spending more draft capital, at the risk of sending more players out, I like what they did yesterday. By that, I mean, I like that they didn't do anything. Don't spend more money you don't have to go somewhere you can't get to. And that's basically what the question was. I like what they did. I don't like where they are. I don't think that this team is good enough to go where we were all hoping they were going to go. But I like that they didn't dig that hole any deeper. I think that ultimately, when it comes around to drafting over the next few years, will ultimately bear some fruit, because at some point you're going to have to replace not just some players, but some of your very best players. And that might not be too far down the road. Do not chase what isn't there in the first place. All right, coming up next, speaking of chasing, that NFC playoff picture, 7 teams from each conference. I think 6 of them are already locked up in the NFC. We'll do that next, coming up on Locked On Rams. Maybe you've been thinking about getting a home security system. Maybe you've been thinking about, I'm not feeling the way that I'd like to feel at home. I want to make sure I can keep an eye on my property. I want to make sure I can keep an eye on the people and things that are the most important to me. And you've been putting it up. Well, now you're going to want to listen, because right now, Locked On Rams listeners can order the #1 rated SimpliSafe home security system. Check this. 50% off. This is their biggest offer of the year, and you will not want to miss it. Here's why. You know what's coming up, right? The holidays are right around the corner. You got a lot of stuff in your house. You know who else knows you got a lot of stuff in the house? People that take stuff right off your porch. And this is why SimpliSafe can offer such a great advantage for you. They're offering 50% off their award-winning security system so that more families can feel safe and secure this holiday season. Here's what I love about it. The unbelievable tech that's involved. Crystal clear HD live streaming security cameras. You can look at it right on your phone. They have an incredible variety of high-tech sensors and all of these other wonderful features that you can find out for yourself. SimpliSafe Professional really has your back, whether it's 24/7 monitor aging, SimpliSafe support staff, all of it just unbelievable. SimpliSafe recently named Best Home Security System of 2022 by U.S. News and World Report. That would make it a three-peat, 3 years in a row. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system that I would recommend. Get 50% off all new SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/today, right? Simply.com/locked-on-NFL. That's simplisafe.com/locked-on-NFL. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Thanks for making Locked On Rams your first listen today. Now, for your second listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today pod. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. All right. Are you ready to get bummed out here a little bit as a Rams fan? Are you really just the cold, hard reality of where 3-4 leaves you in the 2022 NFL season? Here's what it is. Let's talk a little bit about this NFC playoff picture that has already really taken shape for the most part. I understand there are still 10 weeks left in the season, that the Rams have 10 more games left coming up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday to start off that 10-game final push. Here's what's going on in the NFC. The Philadelphia Eagles are 7-0. They're going to the playoffs. There's one spot. The Minnesota Vikings are 6-1 in the NFC North. Their nearest competitor are the Green Bay Packers, who are 3-5. They are 3 games behind them. The Minnesota Vikings are going to the playoffs. There's 2 spots. The Seattle Seahawks are on top of the NFC West at 5-3. The San Francisco 49ers are second and at 4-4. One of those teams is going to win that division. They're going to go to the playoffs. There's 3, right? The Atlanta Falcons / Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win the NFC South. There's 4. 4 spots are locked up. We still haven't said the Rams, okay? The Dallas Cowboys are in second place in their division, tied with the New York Giants, both of them 6-2. If they play 500 football the rest of the way, okay, they've got 9 games left. If they both go 5-4, that's 11 win teams for both of them. If they go 4-5, those are 10 win teams for both of them. They're both going to the playoffs. Okay, that's 6. Philly, Minnesota, Dallas, New York, 2 conference champions, right? That leaves 1 spot. And here is who you are competing with. You are competing with the loser of the NFC West, right? So let's just call it for the moment San Francisco, since they're in second place. You've already lost both of the games to them. So you are way behind the Giants, not just because you're behind them by half a game right now, but because they hold the tiebreaker over you. So you're basically a game and a half behind the team that you're chasing. Seattle, you still have a chance to run them down. Let's just face it, Seattle's a better team than the Rams are this year. Now they still got 9 games left, but again, let's say they go 4-5, that's 9-8. Let's say they go 5-4, that's 10-6 or 10-7. They're not going. The Rams are not getting above 10 wins. It's not happening. Not at 3-4. Not with 10 games left. They're not going to go 7-3 over these last 10 games. I just don't see it. Here's who is ahead of the Rams right now in the NFC. The Washington Commanders have a better record than the Los Angeles Rams. Here's who we haven't talked about. Tampa is behind the Rams. Now, they could still win their division and get in, but they're behind them right now. The Green Bay Packers are 3-5 behind the Rams right now. The New Orleans Saints, who you play, are 3-5 and behind you right now. The Chicago Bears, who I think we all agree are a pretty lousy team, are 3-5 and behind the Rams right now. There's 1 spot left. 1. Now, maybe one of these teams that we think is a lock is going to fall out. I don't see it. Somebody from the South has to go. Maybe Seattle just absolutely hits the skids and comes apart. I don't see it. The point of all of this is there are not an abundance of playoff spots. There's 1 spot left. New York's going. Dallas is going. Philly's going. Minnesota's going. Okay, 2 division champions. That's 6. That's 6. So what you're talking about, the Rams have 10 games left. They win 6 of them. They're 9-8. They win. Let me say it again. They win 6 of them. They're 9-8. To go 6-4 over there. Have you seen anything from the Rams through their first 7 games that leads you to believe that they're going to go 6-10 over any stretch of time? Now, the schedule does get slightly easier, slightly. But look at what you have left in those 10 games. There's 1 game that you just say they're not going to win that game. Kansas City, okay? So now you got 9 games left. You got to go 6-3. You got to find 6 wins, 2 with Seattle. You got Arizona. You've got New Orleans, you've got the Chargers, you've got the Raiders, and you've got the New Orleans Saints. Those are your 7 games that are left. You got to win 6 of those. Come on, man. Come on, man. With this, like last year's team, could they get hot, win 6-7, win 7-10? Yeah, of course they could. They were really good. This team, Have you seen? I haven't. Are you watching something that I'm not watching? I don't like that this early in the season, and it feels like you're clinging to the very last spot. And oh, by the way, in this scenario, you'd have to go play Minnesota. If you're the last team, you go in, you play Minnesota. I don't hate that. You got a chance at that, but you got to get in the first spot, and that's the part that I just haven't seen it. I just have not seen anything from the Rams that leads you to believe they're going to start winning more games than them. They're a 500 team, which is 8-9, 9-8. Right now they're under 500, which means they got to get on the right side of it, +1 on the other side. Good luck with everything that's been going on. Root against the Commanders, root against the Seahawks are the team that you got the best chance to catch. The Niners are probably the best team in the division right now, even though they're not on top of it as we sit here early in November. Buckle up. Hope that the Raiders and the Chargers and the Packers and all these other games that you have the rest of the way, that they all break your way. Maybe not. Maybe not. All right, coming up next. What do you do with Cam Akers now that you couldn't trade him at the deadline? That's straight ahead on Locked On Rams. Let's talk a little PrizePicks, baby, right? Have you signed up yet? Go to prizepicks.com, put the PrizePicks app on your phone, and get started playing a little daily fantasy sports. It's a great way to do it because you don't have to beat a million other guys. You don't have to try to beat a Vegas genius. You don't have to beat guys that have 5,000 other entries other places. Just beat the projections that they put right there in front of you, and that's how you do it. For instance, Patrick Mahomes, more or less than 320 passing yards. Derrick Henry, more or less than 85 yards on the ground. Cooper Kupp, more or less than a touchdown. This is what PrizePick does. Pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their PrizePicks projections, you can win up to 10 times your money on any entry. No competing against other people, like I mentioned. It's just you versus the predictions available. And it's not just football. There's basketball, there's hockey, there's golf, there's college football. You like to do it. PrizePicks has you covered. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. And first-time users can receive a 100% deposit match of up to $100 with that promo code locked on. If you deposit $100, PrizePicks will give you $100. If you deposit 50, they'll give you 50. So don't forget that promo code locked on at sign up for an instant deposit match of up to $100. All right, so thanks for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single day. My name is Travis Rogers. Follow me on Twitter under that name, at Travis Rogers. Cam Akers says that he misses football. Cam Akers still wants to go somewhere else. The Rams were not able to accommodate him. The Rams have sent him home for the previous couple of games. And by the way, it's been longer than that because there's a bye week in there as well. So he hasn't been around the team for nearly a month at this point. The Rams have been saying all along that, hey, listen, if we can't find a trade, and look, we'll try to accommodate you with the trade, but if we can't find anything, we reserve the right to bring you back, put you back on the field, and see what we can get done collectively. Yeah, right. Look, I mean, once you send somebody home, that's it. Once you tell somebody, you know what, we think we're better if you are no longer in the building. We think we're better with you at home. Why don't you just go over there? We'll continue to pay you, but don't bother coming around anymore. They're not bringing him back. And if they do, what does that accomplish? He hasn't been any good for this team this year. This is not somebody that's been racking up yards and touchdowns and making explosive plays. The Rams' running game has been nowhere all season long with or without him. And I know he wants to play, right? I am aware that everybody wants to get on the field and do what you're supposed to do. But you better have some leverage if you're going to bring some attitude to the building. Look, if Aaron Donald, and he would never do this because it's not in his personality, but if Aaron Donald was like, I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to come and go as I please. I'll get treatment when I want. I'll lift when I want. And, I'll come into film session when I want. And then what are you going to do? He's Aaron Donald. Yep. Oh, fine. All right. Jalen Ramsey wanted to pull something like that. And again, he never would. Fine. Go ahead and do it. But Cam Akers, buddy, know your value. You're as valuable as the person that's employing you thinks you are, right? Because let me give you some cold, hard reality, Cam. They did try to trade you. They did. The whole league knows that you're available for a trade. They couldn't get anything for, because I guarantee you this wasn't we don't like that deal. We need a better draft pick than that, or a better. This was, give us something so we can get something for something, and they didn't get it. That's because there's no value. The league's telling you, nah. Now, you could argue, and this may be true, that why would I trade for him when I know that you're going to cut him if you don't get what you want? And they might do that. They may just say, you know what? All right, we're done. We played a game of chicken. We lost. We thought we could get maybe a 7th-round pick or whatever. It didn't happen. Cut him, and now somebody can scoop him up for free. Maybe that happens. Maybe. But you better know your value before you decide that you're going to take a position that is, do it my way or else. They chose or else. They chose to be bad at a position without you. They chose to continue to struggle. Sean McVay was talking about how calling running plays was kind of throwaway plays. He was on the coach's show and saying, it just feels like sometimes those plays that we're just wasting plays. Talking about you, bro. He's talking about you. I mean, and I miss football. Well, okay. Maybe play better. Maybe prepare more. Maybe be a more valuable person to the team that you're with so you can get on that field. All the things that happened yesterday, I like that they didn't make a move. I like that they didn't go out, spend a bunch of draft capital to get, incrementally better from not very good to slightly better than that. But that he's still here, and now they're just going to have to probably cut him for nothing. Little bit of disappointment right there. They're going to have to find somebody to run that ball. Kyren Williams, get healthy, get back soon. Let's see what he can bring, because what they have right now simply is not working. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Rams. Thanks for making it your first listen. Now, for your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today pod. Biggest stories of the day, instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.